welcome back. Last week I screwed up my knife. It warped because, well, one, I let the iron core get too close to the surface from my sanding of it before I quenched it. And probably the other reason, which came out of a conversation in the comments with a guy from Crossheart Forge. And the guy really knows his stuff, and he gave me some good information. Good advice, and he thinks that I had the piece way too hot. So I'm going to go on that, and I'm going to revisit my eye for color, and I'm going to use an empirical technique. Actually, it's not a new one. It's in Beeler's book of blacksmithing, and it's just one I never bothered with, and I'm not sure why, I guess, but yeah, I'm going to revisit that today, and I'm going to start to recalibrate my eye for color.
In Alex Beeler's book, The Art of Blacksmithing, it states that some tool steels harden at a cherry red color, and other steels require orange red, or even a white heat before hardening. So when we're talking color, we really need to make sure we're all talking the same terminology, and I don't think we are all the time. Online you can go on and look at all the different charts, and you'll see different rods and cones and different, word associations. When we're talking salmon, are we talking orange or pink? When we're talking bright orange red, are we also talking dark cherry? And if you're looking at the fire and you're looking for a specific color, and you're triangulating it with text that tells you what to do in that specific situation, you can get very confused by all this. So we need something empirical. It turns out something empirical actually exists and has for a long time, and we're going to talk about that. Again, in The Art of Blacksmithing, Alex Beeler states that in recent times, and by recent times he was talking 1969 is when the book was written. In recent times, the proper hardening color may be realized by touching the steel with a small magnet as the heat rises. The magnet will stick until the metal reaches a red heat. At the exact moment that the magnet ceases to stick, the steel should be quenched for maximum hardness. Okay, I made three nails today to tack this down. There's our magnet set up. So that's what we're going to use to test hot metal. It's sticking out about an inch from the table, so we should be nice and safe. Now this is just cheap steel. Note there's no magnetism there. As we work down, that's where it starts, right there. See? Right where it's kind of a dull orange. Okay, now I picked a railroad tie because different metal from the other one, just show you different metals may react differently. But it's magnetized, this one's magnetized on a dark grayish red. But as I bring it up, yeah, now it's like a dark grayish orange and it's not magnetized. It's sticking there, not there. So that is orange. It's not yellow. It looks white hot, but it's actually, if you get close, that's the color I see. Not that. And this shows you digital cameras lie. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to quench this. Because it's a cheap spike, I'm just going to quench it in the snow. Okay, I'm going to do a test now of my cheap railroad tie chisel that I just, all I really did was heat, get it to critical temp, quench it in snow, and then put it on the sander. But we're going to see, actually no, something about the metal which makes up, hopefully see something about the metal that makes up this railroad tie. I'm going to try cutting some copper, and then I'm going to try cutting a bolt. And special guest, Grug, the, what the hell is that hammer? Yep, that worked, as we expected. And there doesn't appear to be anything amiss with the edge. Now we're going to try this bolt. Cut into it, pretty good. Now let's take a look at the edge. Okay, the edge shows a little bit of, well, I'd call that a little bit of mashing. Just a little bit. But we're going to see if we can get through it just for the heck of it. Put it back in the original spot and put it on a different part of the edge, I think. Well, that cut through. One part went one place, one part went another, and there you can see it is shorter. And so now we look at the edge, and yeah, that edge definitely felt that. It's no longer really a chisel point anymore. So we'll have to unpack that and see what that says about, number one, the steel that this railroad spike is likely made out of, and also the orange color, which I quenched it after the magnet test. Okay, I want to unpack this really quick. The railroad spike, I put in the fire and I got it to glow, obviously brightest to nothing, and nothing to like a grayish red. The magnet grabbed, but everything past that, very quickly, the magnet lost its clutch. And so I noted the colors, but when I heated up again, so that it was orange at the edge, or the tip, and I quenched it in, yes, I quenched it in snow, which is not ideal. It's what I had, but I quenched it in snow and swirled it around, and then I put it on the sander, and after that, and dressed the edge and everything, and then I tested it on this solid copper rod, and it cut through and into this steel block. No problem. No issues with the edge on that. I cut halfway into this steel bolt, and the edge mushed and bulged just a little bit, and I cut the rest of the way through the steel bolt and completely lost my edge between the cut and cutting into the steel block. And this is the steel bolt that when I did a magnet test with this, the color of its critical temperature was different than the color of the critical temperature for the railroad spike. So their jobs are different. Not that this bolt is made of exceptionally good steel, I'm sure, but the bolt, I think, has a higher carbon content than this railroad spike. And they each have their own job to do, and a railroad spike is like a big nail. It just has to go into wood. It has to hold a railroad rail to a railroad tie. So it doesn't need to have a nice edge. So
it between those two, that actually tells me a lot about the, the carbon content of each. That this seems to have a greater carbon content than this does. And I would never really want to make a knife out of a railroad spike just because they're unreliable, I think, in terms of their carbon content. But that said, it was an interesting test, and out of this, I think it demonstrates pretty decently what the magnet can tell you about the critical temperature color of a given piece. I hope you enjoyed that test. Now understand, I'm not a metallurgist. I'm just a self-taught blacksmith that's been doing this for about 30 years, off and on, but not to the degree I've been doing it for the past 3. Because 4 years ago, we tore down this house. What was left standing was this big, beautiful brick fireplace chimney. And so around that, I built this building, and my son and I put in the forge. And since then, I've been able to spend a lot more time learning and relearning the art of blacksmithing. But I've never done the magnet test until yesterday, and so I'm glad I did, and I want to say thanks to the guy at Cross Art Forge for turning me on to it, and also thanks for being so generous with his good advice and his time. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the other side of the week. Be well, be good.